Hey, let's get a look at the new Bambu Lab H2D AMS Combo. This is the one with the AMS dedicated to 3D printing. It's not the one with the laser and the digital cutter, but it can be upgraded to do those things later. Anyway, we'll check it out, see some cool prints, and I'll let you know what I like and don't like about it, and we're starting now. Okay, so today we're getting a look at the Bambu Lab H2D AMS Combo with the AMS2 Pro. As a bonus, Bambu Lab also sent the single spool AMS HT. So is this a larger, improved version of the X1 Carbon Combo? Well, let's run down the spec sheet and see what we're working with. The H2D AMS Combo spec sheet is pretty long, but we're focusing on the multi-material 3D printing aspects of it, not the laser aspects of it. So first off, the tool head has two extruders, each with a 0.4mm diameter hardened steel nozzle, and you can buy additional hardened steel nozzles in 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, and 0.8mm diameters. There's also a 0.4mm high flow nozzle available. Each one is capable of reaching 350 degrees Celsius, and the tool head has a really interesting mechanism to switch between which one is actively printing. When the right nozzle is in use, the left nozzle retracts to get out of the way, and a small cover moves into place to prevent filament from oozing onto your print. But when it's time for the left nozzle to come out and play, it extends down past the right nozzle, and then the cover moves to block ooze from the right nozzle. For cooling, the tool head has a parts cooling blower with ducts directing the airflow down toward the print in progress. Nozzle swaps are super easy on the H2D, just like they are on the A1 and A1 mini printers. There are no wires to mess with, just remove the silicone sock, unclip the nozzle, and pull it off. Then pop the new nozzle on, clip it in place, and put the sock back on. Of course, you should only do this when the nozzles aren't flesh-burningly hot, so you don't injure yourself. The maximum tool head speed is 1,000 millimeters per second, and acceleration is 20,000 millimeters per second squared. But that's just how fast it can move the tool head from one place to another. Typical printing speeds are in the 250 to 350 millimeter per second range. The print chamber includes active heating and ventilation. It can get up to 65 degrees Celsius, enabling it to print high-temperature, high-performance materials that would otherwise be prone to warping. For materials like PLA that need to print in a cooler environment to prevent issues, the print chamber's thermal management system pops open an intake vent at the front edge of the printer to bring in outside air, and then it vents it out the back. There's also a big auxiliary cooling blower mounted on the left side of the print chamber to provide additional parts cooling. For lighting, the chamber has two bright light bars along the left and right sides. And for visibility, there are windows on the left and right sides along with a large glass door on the front. Now let's talk build volume. Because the tool head has two nozzles, the printer's build volume varies along the x-axis depending on whether you're using one or both nozzles to print. Now, the print volume is always 325 millimeters on the z-axis, and it's always 320 millimeters on the y-axis. But the x-axis can be as small as 300 millimeters if the thing you're printing needs both nozzles. A single nozzle print expands that to 325 millimeters. And the maximum would be 350 millimeters on the x-axis, which you could achieve if you had multiple parts on the bed, and the things on the left side of the bed were being printed by the left nozzle, and the things on the right side of the bed were being printed by the right nozzle. The bed can get up to 120 degrees Celsius, and it comes with a double-sided textured PEI flex plate. You can also get a smooth PEI flex plate if you want. And a really cool feature of the bed is that there's a light bar at the front of it to provide status information. It'll flash red if there's a problem during a print job, it'll be solid green when a print job finishes, and it acts as a progress indicator during a print job, filling in from left to right as the print progresses. The printer uses 1.75 millimeter diameter filament, and given the nozzle and bed temperatures the H2D can reach, along with the heated chamber, the list of supported filament types is fairly long. So rather than rattle off a list of 20 or so kinds of filament, I'll just put the list up here for a couple of seconds and you can pause and peruse at your leisure. There are a handful of cameras and sensors in the printer. There's a 1080p live view camera that you can monitor from within Bambu Studio. There's a 1080p nozzle camera and a 1080p toolhead camera, and there are various sensors as well. It supports power loss recovery, it has a filament tangle sensor, it has a door sensor so it knows when its door is ajar, and it has a filament runout sensor so it can let you know when you need to run out and get more. Though, to be fair, the automatic material system can also take advantage of that to just switch over to a spare spool of the same material, and you won't even have to worry about it. So, speaking of that, the H2D AMS combo includes the new AMS2 Pro. Like the original AMS, it handles feeding 4 spools of filament for multicolor or multi-material prints. But it has some really nice quality of life improvements over the original AMS unit. It feeds filament faster. It doesn't require disassembly to get to the filament feed tubes if you need to clear out a broken piece of filament. It has more durable filament inlets, and it's also a filament dryer. So you can dry up to 4 spools of filament at a time. It can dry filament at up to 65 degrees Celsius. As it heats and dries the filament, it also manages the airflow through the unit. It's got a vent that it controls to vent out hot, humid air. And it spins the spools during the drying cycle so that they dry evenly. And it's all controlled from the printer's touchscreen. Now, because it spins the spools, you have to unload the filament and secure it to the spool just like you would with a standalone filament dryer. And you can't use the AMS for anything else while it's drying filament. But it's still a huge improvement over the original AMS unit. And you can connect up to 4 AMS2 Pro units to a single H2D printer with a couple of extra parts. Bambu Lab also sent along the optional AMS HT, which is a single spool unit designed for high-performance materials. Like the AMS2 Pro, it's also a dryer, but it can dry filament at up to 85 degrees Celsius instead of the 65 degrees of the AMS2 Pro. It also integrates a display to show you the relative humidity inside the unit, the drying temperature, and how much time is remaining in a drying cycle. And you can connect up to 8 of these to an H2D printer. And that's in addition to being able to connect 4 AMS2 Pro units. So if you have enough space and power outlets, you can have up to 24 spools feeding into a single H2D printer. But even if you didn't have any of these, the H2D is still capable of using 2 materials in one print job because of its dual nozzle design. So that's about it for the specs and features. Next, let's see some things I printed. Okay, now it's time for show and tell with a few of the things that I printed. I started with the pre-sliced Benchy that was in the printer's file list. It took a little over 20 minutes to print in this Bambu Lab Orange Basic PLA. I think it's a good Benchy. There are maybe 3 or 4 little strings on it, but that's it. The surface finish is great, and I have no complaints about it. This is Aria the Dragon by Luby 3D. I printed this in some red ABS filament, and it took an hour and 12 minutes. I used ABS because I wanted to try a higher temperature filament that tends to like warmer enclosures. I think she came out pretty good. Like the Benchy, there's a string here and there, but they're minimal. She's got a smooth, even gloss on the surface finish. Nothing to complain about on this print. Next, I wanted to go multicolor, so I printed this little knitted guinea pig by Smoggy 3D. It's a 3-color print with a brown body, pink nose, and beady little eyes in black. It came out great. Multicolor prints can generate a fair bit of waste, and I'll use this print as an example when talking about that a little later in the video. For now though, I'll say this print came out exceptionally well, and I don't see any issues with it. This is Raccoon Designs TIE Fighter scaled up to 250%. The silver/gray parts are printed with an old spool of Polymaker PETG that I had laying around, and the black parts are Polymaker Matte Black PLA. Printing all the parts for this took about 25 hours, but I feel like this was printing just a tiny bit too fast for the PETG based on a couple of little print defects. This 250% scaling is about as big as I can make it, and that's based on the size of the TIE's solar collectors, 313 millimeters in the largest dimension at that scale. And yes, I know this isn't like a screen-accurate, highly detailed TIE Fighter model, but it's easy to print, easy to assemble, and I think it looks good. Next, I wanted to see how well the printer would handle a flexible filament like TPU. So I printed a Benchy, and it took about an hour and a half. This is printed in Polymaker's Polyflex TPU90. It's softer than the more common TPU95, and the reason I wanted to use this is that I planned to print another pair of shoes. But first, a Benchy. And this came out pretty good. It's bendy and strong, though it does have a tiny bit of stringing and a few little pits here and there on the outer surface. So with the success of the Benchy and TPU, I printed myself a pair of Whaleberry shoes from designer Cloudberry. Now, I've been wearing these pretty much every day for about a month now, doing everything from just going to work to walking around the block to mowing the lawn. So yeah, they got a bit dirty, but using a scrub brush and some dish soap and some hot water, they cleaned up pretty good. Scaled up to an EU size 46 or 47, which is roughly equivalent to a US men's 13 or 14, each shoe takes a little over 2 days to print. I printed the right shoe first at EU size 46. The 46 felt a little tight in the toes, so I scaled the left shoe to an EU 47, and that one felt a lot better. The print quality isn't quite as good as I'd hoped, and in fact it's kind of not great. Mostly what I don't like is that the outer surface has the same kind of voids or pitting as the Benchy did, only more of it. I think if I reduced the outer wall speed in the slicer, these would probably look better. That said though, they're holding up remarkably well. But are they comfortable? Well, they feel like regular shoes, to be honest. The only thing I think they need is a separate thin insole. The mesh pattern on the built-in insoles feels weird to walk on, but as they've broken in, it's gotten better. I want to circle back around to the topic of purge waste on multicolor or multi-material prints. The crocheted guinea pig is a 3-color print, and I chose this one because it alternates a base color, the brown, with accent colors, the pink and the black. So, how much purge waste was there? Well, the printer did print a priming tower, which is used when switching between nozzles and when switching between filament within a single nozzle. Even tool-changing printers with multiple print heads typically do this to make sure the selected nozzle is primed and ready to print. So priming towers are kind of a given no matter what multi-material technology a printer uses. For printers like the Bambu Lab machines, where one nozzle handles multiple filaments, the printer will also purge out filament when switching from one color to another to prevent color bleed. On a single nozzle printer, this can generate a lot of purge waste, but since this particular model doesn't have pink and black on the same layer, it's really only swapping filament once. The right nozzle loads pink one time for the nose, and it switches between the left and right nozzles to alternate brown and pink on the nose layers. Then when it's time for the eyes, the right nozzle unloads pink and loads black, and switches between the left and right nozzles to alternate brown and black on the eye layers. As a result, the amount of purge waste for this print is shockingly small. This is literally all there is. There's the initial priming line at the start of the print. There's the priming tower. There are these purge poops when the pink loads into the right extruder, and then these when the black is loaded in. If I had printed this with all 3 colors on the right side nozzle, there would have been a lot more purge poops because it would have been unloading the brown and loading the pink, and then unloading the pink and loading the brown for every layer with the nose. And it would have had to do the same kind of loading and unloading with black and brown filament for every single layer with the eyes. So are you going to see filament waste reduction on every print? Well, the slicer will suggest which colors to load on the left and right nozzles to minimize waste, so you'll generally see some waste reduction. On 2-color prints, you will definitely see less waste. On 3 or more print colors, it'll vary. Maybe not always to this extreme, but in certain situations, having dual nozzles like this can cut down on a lot of purge waste. Now I want to go over the things I like and don't like about the H2D, starting with the things I like. So the H2D has several improvements over the X1 Carbon. The main ones that stand out to me are the larger build volume, the new AMS unit that also functions as a filament dryer, and the dual nozzle setup. On the X1 and P1 series printers, nozzle swaps were a little bit involved, requiring unplugging wires and unscrewing things, and then screwing things back in and plugging in wires again. But nozzle swaps on the H2D are as easy as they are on the A1 series printers. Just unclip, swap, and clip them back in. It literally just takes a few seconds to swap from a 0.4mm to a 0.8mm nozzle. And the nozzles have 2D barcodes on them, and the printer reads these so it can tell what size a nozzle is installed. Less obvious, but still welcome, is the actively heated chamber for high temperature filaments that also automatically handles increased cool airflow for lower temperature filaments. And I like the potential reduction in the amount of waste poops when doing multicolor prints. Also, the door opens much wider now, about 180 degrees, instead of a little over 90 degrees like on the X1. The H2D also has much better internal lighting compared to the X1. And I also really like that multicolor LED light bar at the front of the bed to show the printer's status and print progress from across the room. Okay, now what about the things I don't like? Well, even though you can install 2 different nozzle sizes on the left and right side at the same time, at the time of recording, both the left and right nozzles have to be the same size if you intend to use both nozzles in a single print. If you're just going to use one nozzle or the other, then it's okay to have them mismatched. Printing with mismatched nozzles may be something Bambu Lab enables in the future, but as of May 2025, it's not supported. I also have a couple of complaints about printing TPU. Printing with TPU 90 can be a bit of a pain, mostly because of the way you have to route the filament. TPU is only supported on the right nozzle, and you have to disconnect the PTFE tube from the buffer inside the printer and route it out a separate port on the back of the printer. And you have to temporarily disconnect the right nozzle's PTFE tube from the toolhead so you can manually guide the TPU into the extruder. Complaints aside though, it does work, and it worked well enough to print these shoes without jamming or clogging, and that was a little over 4 days of constantly pushing TPU through the nozzle. When it comes to the new AMS2 Pro, it would be great if it had the same kind of display as the AMS HT. Being able to see info about the AMS2 Pro's internal environment on the unit itself would be neat. I can see this info on the printer screen, so it's not a must-have, but it would be a nice-to-have. And that's about it for the don't likes. Okay, so what about the price? Well, the original X1 Carbon combo, which comes with the older AMS unit, costs about $1,500 US. The H2D combo with the AMS2 Pro will set you back about $2,300 US, about $800 more. And while that sounds like a lot more, and to be sure it is a lot more, that gets you the larger build volume and the dual nozzles and the faster AMS with drying functionality and, well, all the stuff we just covered. Is it worth the extra money over the X1 Carbon combo? Well, if you like the X1, but you wish it could print bigger and had a few more conveniences, then maybe? I mean, if you needed to have 24 spools always on tap, this would probably be the only game in town, but not everybody needs that. So only you can decide if it's the printer for you. And if you do, there's a link to it in the description. So that's the new Bambu Lab H2D Combo. If you liked this episode, a thumbs up would be appreciated. Oh, Bambu said they were going to send the laser combo version at some point, so you might want to make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that video when it comes out. Thanks again to Bambu Lab for sending the H2D over. Thank you for watching, and of course big thanks to everyone who supports the channel, whether with channel memberships or by using the links in the description. Well, 3D printing friends, that's about all the time we have for this one, and now that we're at the end, let's go print something cool.